Do you believe in miracles? Maybe you're having some issues in your relationship, or perhaps it's your health, or maybe you've lost your job. But there's some area of your life that you would love to see a miracle happen. Well, it's possible. Miracles happen every day for people just like you and I. Hi, I'm Sherry Nichols, and I want to welcome you to The Miracle in You, a show that is dedicated to give you hope and inspiration. And today I am so honored and really thrilled to bring you Mary Morrissey's story. This interview that I did with her shares her devastation, where she lost a career that she had built for years. She lost her marriage and she lost her reputation, all at the same time. In this interview, she shares the miracle that happened for her and how she turned all of those areas around to not only survive them, but to come out on the other side better than before, to experience more success in all those areas and to truly thrive. Before we listen to Mary, I wanted to make you aware of a gift that I have for you. So please stay to the end of the interview so that you can receive this special gift. So now let's go ahead and listen to Mary's miracle.
My most treasured mentor and friend, a woman that I deeply respect and admire, Mary Morrissey. She is an icon in the transformational world. And let me tell you a bit about Mary. Mary has invested the last 40 years into studying transformational principles. And she's the author of 2 best-selling books. Mary has addressed the United Nations 3 times and was invited to co-convene 3 different week-long meetings with His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. She also met with President Nelson Mandela in Cape Town, South Africa, to address some of the most significant issues that our world faces. Through her books, live events, and programs, Mary has empowered millions of people worldwide to achieve new heights of spiritual awareness and spiritual aliveness, wealth, and authentic success. More than anyone I know, she embodies the principles of love, really in every area of her life, from her teachings to her business empire, to her marriage, to her friends, to her family, and to herself. She leads with love. So you are really in for a treat. You know, she just has tremendous wisdom, and she is going to share with us today how to experience the greatest love of all, divine love. So please join me in giving a big welcome to Mary Morrissey.
Thank you, Sherry. I am thrilled to be here. So I just want to say to our viewers today, I love Sherry Nichols. She's one of my dearest people, and I'm thrilled for the work that she does in the world, and anything I can do to support that. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. I would love to start by really kind of diving in because, you know, a lot of the women that I talk to, a lot of the women that I coach and speak to in general, they often feel like, you know, if they could just meet the man of their dreams, or if they could have that relationship of their dreams, then they would be happy. And it doesn't matter, you know, they might be single or they might be married, but they both have that same feeling that then they would be happy if that relationship were in place. So what is your response to that?
Mm-hmm. I think it's a very common human idea that the source of my happiness is out there. And if I'm single and I want to be married, then the thought, oh, if only I had that person, then wouldn't I be happy? And if I'm married and it's not so great, and I think, oh, if he were perfect, then I'd be happy. Or if things were different, then I'd be happy. Mm-hmm. It's just a very human kind of way to approach life. But you mentioned earlier we were going to talk today about another kind of loving, a love that is with us all the time, a love that actually is the very source of the breath that we breathe. Not one of us created ourselves. We can't breathe ourselves. We can't even make our heart beat one time. There's a presence, a power, whether you call it life, you call it love, but it moves into and through us, and it's very present with us. But most of us are trained to look outside of ourselves for that feeling, that experience. So I think it's one thing to prefer that you have a partner. If you don't have a partner and you would prefer to have a partner, then you keep it in the preference column versus the need column. Because what happens is when we live from a need energy, we can only meet people who match the energy we're coming from. So we're going to attract needy people. And so you're trying to gather your source of love from outside yourself. The person you're going to attract is trying to gather their love from outside themselves. And one of you is always going to be saying, you aren't giving me what I need. Needy people attract relationships full of need and not full of love. So we would want to switch that up and learn to live in love ourselves so that we attract people who are living in love, and then we multiply the love by being together if we choose to be together, whether it's in friendship or in colleague relationships or with our family, friends, or certainly with a partner.
Absolutely. And, it just seems like, you mentioned that the love that is there for us is within, that we don't really need to go looking for it. We don't really need to go seeking it. So what do you think blocks us from experiencing that kind of love?
Deep down, we don't really know who we are. This is my view of how it all works. And I've been studying, as you mentioned, Sherry, I've been studying transformation from every angle I could find it for the last 40 years since I kind of bumped into it in an experience in my life. And realize that, some people really live they have 90 years of life, and other people, and more of them, live 1 year 90 times. They don't really change and grow and become and experience more and more of their capability, their potential inside themselves. So I studied the world's religions, psychologies, the new sciences. I have a master's degree in counseling psychology, an honorary doctorate in humane letters. Got to work with the Dalai Lama, speak at the UN. I've worked with Nelson Mandela. How did you do it? I asked Nelson Mandela, how did you go from being the man who was sentenced to life in prison, and then not only get out of prison before you die, but then you actually become president of the country who sentences you to life in prison? Who on our planet does that? And his answer was really all about love. He said, the man who went to prison could never have been president of this country. That was an angry, vengeful young man. We had sought to end apartheid, had been unsuccessful. There'd been a massacre in front of my eyes of people that I had worked with. I just wanted to kill everybody I could find who was in any way blocking the ending of apartheid. I was captured, I was put in prison. And it took me time to become the man who could love from where I was. The man I could begin to bless the jailers who were doing their job. I could begin to bless the rocks I had to work on every single day as I was in hard labor. And it took multiple years. And one day the thought came, and the first few years I was in depression. I just kept thinking, it's all over, it'll never happen. And then one day, a different thought. I thought, maybe it's not all over. Maybe someone else will pick up the banner. Maybe someone else will do this. And I think this is an important thing for all of us who want to live in love. We want to experience a greater love than our circumstances. Because what happens in the human mind is we're looking for what's wrong or what's missing. We're trained to do that in the way ordinary thinking occurs. So he had to learn a different kind of thinking. That thinking ultimately would lead him to the idea that maybe his being in prison was actually part of the ending of apartheid. And he said within a few months or so after beginning to think that thought, ideas started coming to him on a different frequency. Because the ideas that if you're thinking this is just all over and it's all horrible, the only ideas are on the horrible channel. But if you start thinking, well, maybe my being here has something to do or could have something to do with the ending of apartheid or whatever your big dream is, then different ideas are attracted to you on the frequencies, maybe there is something I can do. And if you would love the love of your life, or you would love to have more love in your life while you're living your life. And I ultimately think that is the most fulfilling life there is to love your life while you're living it. That doesn't mean that you don't want to change circumstances or have goals or grow or expand or earn more money or have more people in your life, but it means you're not going to wait until that happens to love your life while you're living it. There was a time when my husband, Joe, and I was single, went through a very, very tough divorce, was single, was not really looking for somebody, met Joe Dickey, my husband now, and this is back in the early 2000s, and we met, we dated a couple years, we got married. And a few years later, we're at the New York airport in the switchback before you go through the TSA line. We finally got up to the TSA line, and the man who was looking at our ID and our plane tickets looked at us, and he says, as we walked up, he said, well, hello, happy couple. And Joe and I kind of looked like this, and he said, where's your book? And Joe said, well, I didn't bring a book. And he says, no. Where's the book you two have written on how to be such a happy couple? I have watched you two all the way through that term, and you were just so happy. And Joe said, well, the secret to this is we were both happy people before we met each other. Mm. And I really think that just underscores what I was saying, is if you practice being in love yourself, you practice living in love yourself, you are much more likely, you are much more attractive to someone who is actually living in love themselves. And the two of you then magnify that if you want to have someone else in your life. But it doesn't just work with partners. It works with friends. It works with who you're going to hang out with at work. When you're living in love, even when you see someone else living in fear or living in criticism or living in, ain't it awful, world, you have compassion for them. You don't, it's like you're Teflon to it. It's not that you might not prefer to be around it, but when they're being that way, it doesn't get inside you because you're so full of loving life yourself. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, all the water in the world cannot drown you unless it gets inside you. So there is a divine love. There's a love that knows no circumstance. It's bigger than circumstance. And that power is inside every single one of us. There's a power in you, each one of us, that is greater than any circumstance, any situation, any condition, no matter how long it's been there. Now, discovering and getting to know that part of yourself and unlocking that and unleashing it then becomes why you want to work with Sherry Nichols, because that's what she does. She helps people do that. But know that this can absolutely happen for you. It doesn't matter how long you've been lonely or how long you have not liked yourself or how much self-loathing has gone on. This is part of the human condition. And if you haven't yet found a way to get the kind of help that really helps you break free from that, I want to say to you, even if you feel mostly free from it and you want more freedom, you're in the absolute right place here today with Sherry.
Mary, thank you so much. And I love how you describe that. And I love that story about you and Joe. And you said so much in that you both had done the work to show up and be in that full space when you came together. And I know you also had gone through a really devastating time prior to that. Okay. So is there anything that, what can you share about how did you get from that place? Because, my experience, nobody skates through life. We all have things that happen to us, curveballs that are unexpected. Mm-hmm. And some of us move through them and some of us stuck.
There's a scripture in the Bible that says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And the key word in that scripture is walk, and don't pitch a tent. So we all go through some difficult times. Some of them are more difficult than others. Nobody skates through life. Yes, you said, Sharon. So one of the skill sets is to have the experience. Don't try to sugarcoat it. Don't try to do a spiritual bypass on it. There's when you have a loss. I lost the marriage I was in. There was some mental illness in his life. He did a bunch of things that ended up putting him in prison. I lost the business I had built. I lost the life I had lived. I didn't see it coming. And when it came like a big flood and washed the life that I had built for over a decade away. I was devastated at a human level. At first, it was just like, oh my gosh, I was in shock. But over time, and I had some good skill sets. I did a good 90-day process of grieving. And first I was just mad at him, mad at the people that were supposed to be watching over my finances, the different things. Finally, I realized that no, I was mad at myself, that there were things I could have seen. And in hindsight, could see. Like I could have seen that, I could have seen that, I could have seen that. And realized that I had missed some things that actually I could have seen. And then one day I was walking the beach and I just heard inside myself, this is a dark chapter, but it's not your whole book. Mm. And when that thought came to me, in the same way that, because I had worked with Nelson Mandela, when a different thought came to him that was a higher order thought, I thought, well, that can be true. This could be a very dark chapter. It is a dark chapter, but it doesn't have to be my whole book. So I got busy looking at what was the next step for me. And since I knew that I had loved what I had done, It wasn't that my love of the work I had done had gone anywhere. It was the form the work had been contained in. We had to build a new form for it. And frankly, within a year and a half, the new work had grown so big and so wide and so far that the life I struggled to hang on to would look so tiny compared to the life that I was then living. And so I would say to you, if you're the person, as I was, in a moment where things feel like they're falling apart or you've lost something that you feel devastated by, know this, everything has two sides to it. Every adversity, as Napoleon Hill said, has within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. But like any seed, it has to be found and planted and grown and nurtured and harvested. So no matter how bad it seems, there's something good that you can find in this that you can build upon. And frankly, if you do that and are willing to do that, you'll turn around like I did and say, oh my gosh, I would not wish that on anybody, but I would wish where it took me on everybody.
Mm-hmm. That's so true, Marion. You have, I just admire you so much because you have, the way you live your life is such, as I said, you embody love in everything you do, and you've gone through things and you have pulled yourself up through them and connected to that love. I mean, it's obvious when anyone's in your presence, they can feel it. They can feel it. So what is there something that you do on a daily basis that helps you to connect to that divine love and keeps you centered? Because what I find is that people, and myself included, you'll feel good, and then something might happen and you'll get a little bit off centered, or you get wobbly and you get amnesia. You forget your tools. And so is there something
you can? Yeah.
And it's frustrating because, even I teach it and I've studied it for so many years. And so I would love to know what you do, because you always seem rock steady.
Well, I am very largely rock steady because the foundation I'm very clear about the foundation of, I don't get to have this day, except that there's a power in me that gave me the opportunity to have this day. So what are my practices? I begin each day when I wake up in the morning, and there's that moment for all of us where we're beginning to wake up. I don't think I can overstate the power of this, and I would just encourage you, if you're watching this today and you want to have a rock steady, a stronger sense of who you are and whose you are, and a feeling of connection and strength and confidence, not so much in your personality as much as in the very power that lives and moves and breathes that you call your own life. Remember, you didn't create yourself. Not one of us did. Start your day with a kind of gratitude that is more than words. It's a feeling. So in that moment when you're starting to wake up, my practice is this. I notice that I'm starting to wake up before my feet ever touch the ground. And I will not put my feet on the ground until I get myself in an energetic state of deep gratitude that my eyes are waking up, that my life is being handed to me one day at a time. And I'm being handed a day of life. It's not just another day of life. It's the one day I'm being given to live this day. It'll never happen again, not in eternity. So I put myself in a state of deep gratitude with a reverent tone for it, that not everybody's eyes opened up this morning. And it's the idea that I actually am given this day. Now, stuff is going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen in my day. Some of the things I'm going to be in love with, some of the things I won't be in love with. But when I'm deeply connected to a gratitude for being alive, there's a different bit of flexibility that, okay, it didn't work out the way I wanted, but by golly, I'm alive. By golly, I'm breathing without a machine today. By golly, my hands move when I ask them to. And I keep myself in that state of realization that the things that give me the ability to move and have my life are in my hands. They're right here. And things, circumstances, situations are going to come and go, and they're going to change. So I mentioned earlier when I was sharing, move. You wanted somebody in your life, or you think, I'll be happier if that. Make it in a want instead of a need. I would prefer that. But I'm not going to not have happiness this day or gratitude this day because I'm not yet having that. That'll be a goal. I'll put it in my goal calendar. I'll put it in my goal column. And I will organize my time and energy so that that goal becomes my life. But I'm not going to wait till then to love my life. I love my life while I'm living it. There was a woman who came to one of the trainings I was doing, Sherry. Her name was Marianne. Marianne was 75 when she came for her first training. She'd been a nun for the first 30 years of her professional life and became a social worker as a nun. Around 60, decided, maybe 55 or 60, decided she wondered and didn't want to put her head on the pillow for the very last time and wonder what would have happened if she'd ever experienced human love between a man and a woman. She left the convent, continued her social work, and now it was 15 years later, she's 75. And no love, no real dating. I mean, and the story that she's got is all the good ones are gone. I'm too old, my body's saggy, and so she's running this, who would want me anyway, frequency, all the good ones are gone and who would want me anyway. So if you're going through the grocery store, even if the guy who would be perfect for you is in the grocery store, but your energy is, who would want me anyway? I'm frumpy and old and all the good ones are gone. You're not, the attractiveness of you is like in a very small container of frump. And so, we talked, Sherry, Marianne came, we'd gone through the training. And I said, well, what if all the good ones aren't? You don't need a whole ton of them. You only want one. You just want one. There has to be one. If you have the desire, there has to be one. And we began to help her organize her energy that would be a match. We helped her turn up her sexual energy, helped her turn up her loving herself in such a way that she began to dress differently. She began to walk differently. When you feel good about yourself, there's a whole different thing happening. And we helped her build an internal relationship to the love that she wanted. And Sherry, that's what you do. I mean, if there's an expert in the field that does this, it's you. And so she began to align with this. And then with a few little fits and starts along the way, learning to date. I'll tell you about Marianne today. By the time she was 76 and a half, she had met, or maybe it wasn't even that long, she had met Wayne. And she and Wayne, now it's 3 years later, they travel the world. They have this wonderful romance and fun and laughter and connection. And she looks 20 years younger. They're just having the time of their lives, these two people. And they weren't all taken. And she wasn't too old to have this love. In fact, the love itself helped her experience herself as a much younger, more alive woman. And that happens not just because somebody outside of you loves you. When you live in love, you brighten up, your whole radiance is different. And that's something any single one of us can choose to do. And we do it one day at a time. Start your day with gratitude, and then treat yourself with love, making your choices with asking yourself, what would I love here? And it's a question that most people don't ask very often. What would I love? You think about when you go to a menu, and you're at a restaurant and you look at a menu. We all have ordering habits, how we order food. You may have been trained to order food by looking at the price first, or you may have a habit of looking at maybe the calories first or the fat first. At least let yourself know what you would love. You may not choose to eat that mud pie, but at least let yourself know that part of you would really like it. Treat yourself with questions. What would I love? If I just ate whatever I would love here, what would it be? And you can actually have the experience of it just by holding it in your mind. Then you get to decide what you're going to order. You're shopping for clothes. What's the first thing you do? Do you tend to look at the price? Or notice that kind of internal resistance that you might have inside you to letting yourself have a more expansive experience of you. And that doesn't cost you a penny. It just costs you a way of thinking. It costs you letting go of some of the old habits and installing new habits where love has more room to make its home in your own heart and in your own life.
Mary, I'm going to stop now because I'm frozen. So hold on one second. Michelle, can I leave? Gosh, Mary, I love that story about Marianne. That gives so much validity about where we want to put our energy, where we want to put our thoughts and our hopes. And it just gives so much hope for everyone and just empowers each of us to know that our life is truly in our own mindset and our heart and our own sense of self. And the gratitude I absolutely love. I've noticed myself that when I get up in the morning, if I go out and I take a walk, no matter how I'm feeling, if I just make some connection to really being thankful for the day, which I absolutely got that from you, Mary, and the way that you start your day. And as soon as I started applying it into my day, I can't even tell you the difference it makes. So thank you for sharing that with everyone. And I just encourage all of you to do something that starts your day with gratitude, because you will be amazed at how that will shift your energy. And doing it, of course you can do it any time of day, but if you start your day that way, it really sets your day up for just a lovely, beautiful experience. And Mary, I would love to ask you more about how we can begin to experience, even greater love for ourselves. And truly by doing that, how that then translates to loving one another. Because ultimately, I believe that that's what we're all here on the planet for, is to make that connection and to share our love and to spread that love.
Mm-hmm. There's a tool that I teach called Notice What You're Noticing. We all can do that. So for a moment, notice your right hand, notice your left hand, notice the tip of your nose, notice your chin, notice your right knee and your left knee, and notice your right toenail, or your big toenail, notice your left little toe. Notice all tips of all 10 of your fingers. Notice that you can send that noticing wherever you decide to. Now, when you see that you can notice whatever you're noticing, you can notice if what you're noticing is expansive and empowering, or if it's contractive and diminishing. So you want to notice how you're talking to yourself. We're talking to ourselves about between 67 and 76% of the time. There's an inner dialogue going on. And it's either coming from the side of us that is actually empowering, or the side of us that would be trying to tear ourselves down. So you want to notice where the bulk of the weight is. If you want to live in more love, you can't live in more love and be full of self-loathing. They're not on the same frequency. So we want to rearrange kind of the habits of how we're talking to ourselves. We pass a mirror. What are we likely to think or say about ourselves? We get on the scale, or we try on something and it's too tight. It was a size that might have worked and now it's too tight. It's just a dress, or it's just a pair of pants. And perhaps it doesn't mean anything except the meaning I bring to it. Now, I might decide, you know what? I want to let go of a pound or two here so I can fit into the clothes that I have in my closet, the clothes I love living. But it doesn't change the love I feel for myself. We want the love that we feel for ourselves to be stable, because it's not based on conditions. The love that we all want to experience is from a source that knows no conditions. It's a source greater than any condition. And that love that once we begin to make contact with that kind of love, it's there for every single one of us. It goes no place. If we're not feeling it, it's not because love moved, it's because we moved in our own mind. We moved to a critical frequency, a self-judgment frequency. So if you think about your television right now, you could tune to CNN, you could tune to constantly negative news, and all of the programming would be about negative, who's done what and what might happen, and it's fear-based and broadcast 24/7. Or you could flip the channel and you could go to Discovery or Romance or Home and Garden, and you tell your television what you're interested in. You don't let it dictate to you what you're going to watch. But inside ourselves, it's very much the same. We get to choose what the frequency is that we're going to be tuned to. And if you tune to a gratitude frequency and to an appreciation frequency, which is you're looking for the good in yourself, you're looking for the good in your life, you're looking for the good in life itself. In this day, my gosh, look at that flower blooming, or look at because it doesn't, you can have tremendous goals and make huge forward progress and love your life while you're living it. You're going to create results if you just keep breathing. You will create results in 4 areas of life. You have results right now in those 4 areas. Right now, you can look at the results that the frequency, the major dominant frequency you operate from, creates. You have results in your health. You have results right now in your relationships. You have a relationship life. You may be in love with it. You may not be in love with it. You have friends, maybe you have a lot, maybe you have the soulmate, or maybe you don't. Maybe you're with somebody, but it's whatever. It's my results. I'm at the center of my own results, my health, my relationships, my vocation, what I'm doing with my time and talent, whether I earn income doing it or not. What do I do with my time and talent? That's my result in my area of vocation. And what am I doing with time and money? There's two places where we keep a complete diary of our values. One is our checkbook, and the other is in our calendar. So it's one thing to say, oh, my family's my highest value, but if it's not showing up my calendar and checkbook, then it's just words. It's not really my life. So since we all have results in these 4 areas, a year from now, what's likely to happen in those 4 areas? Unless you make an interchange, it's very likely those results are going to be pretty much the same. A year from now, even though you had good intentions, even though you made great resolutions, what it takes to change those results isn't just a good intention or a wish or a hope. It's a change in the frequency that you operate from. So if you want to have more love in your life, that's the place to begin. It is to begin to turn up the volume of self-love. And you find your place in that because you can notice what you're noticing. So you can notice the self-criticism and change it. Say, you know what, I used to say that to myself. Not anymore. You know what? You are beautiful. You know what? Thank God that you are breathing without a machine. These are things I say to myself. Thank God I can. If I ask my right hand to move, it's going to move for me. And if I ask my right leg to move and my left leg, and they work together, by golly, and I keep myself in a state, and it can sound silly or trivial, but I can promise you, when I look at my checkbook and I look at my marriage and I look at the world I live in, it is not trivial. It is expansive and it's free. And I know that same is available to every single one of us who learns to live in a love that is the source of all the things that we really would love. So that's a really good beginning.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. So I love the fact that you're talking about it. It sounds simple. I know it's not always easy, but the fact that you can move out of whatever you're aware of, if you don't like what's going on, moving into the gratitude frequency. And that is what I'm hearing you say, and what I know from working with you will shift and get you connected to that greater love.
I would say, and I know that we were going to talk also about self-doubt and low, when we feel this low self-esteem, we feel like, oh, in the human dimension, there's ups and downs. This is part of being human. We're talking about a spiritual love. You and I, all of us are spiritual beings having a human experience. And at times, we're much more in our human self than our spiritual self. But even when you find yourself feeling, you're just feeling, and you hear yourself talking to yourself this way, there's a part of you that can notice that is not caught in your drama, is not caught in low self-esteem. The human version of you is all, of us is all caught up in that. But the moment you can notice that, you can change that. You can say, this train is taking me someplace I don't want to end up. It's a destination I don't want to end up in. So I get off that train and I get on a different thought train. I say, you know what? I can start my day fresh any time of day. I can start my day fresh at the moment I decide. So I'm hitting the reset button on this day, and I will not let a whole day get ruined because I had a crummy morning. I'm going to turn my attention now, and I'm going to say, that was then, and this is now, and now I'm starting my day fresh. And you actually can do that when you decide you could do that.
That's great. I love that. And I know that actually this goes right along with so much of what you've been sharing with us today. You have a wonderful free gift for everyone listening that is an ebook that you've got that is Stronger Than Circumstances: Ways to Overcome Fear and Limitations and Procrastination. So could you, which is absolutely perfect, could you share a little bit more about that?
Sure. I'm giving you kind of the overview of some of the things that I do today in the sharing. And I put together a book called Stronger Than Circumstances to help people. It's a completely free ebook to have some really important 3 ways that you can overcome fear and limitation and actually procrastination. So you can live a life you love living. So you can achieve the goals that you have. So it shows how thoughts actually predict the course of your life and limit your ability to have a life you love. If you don't understand the power of this, and the simple, easy ways to shift that so that you move your thoughts from disappointment, failure, and for all the things that lead us to live a more contracted life, how you shift those thoughts easily, and so that you can be more expansive and actually have a life you love living while you're living it, and that helps you also achieve the kind of success that you would love. And you find yourself, you turn around and you go, wow, I used to live in a whole lot of fear and worry and doubt. That's hardly ever in my life anymore. It also will show you the hidden reason that you may be sabotaging some of the things that you would really love, that you don't want to do that, but you find yourself doing that. So we're going to unlock that so you can have some greater success easier. And I'll just tell you this, there's some simple and highly effective tools that you can use that'll make a real difference for you.
Mary, thank you so much. And for those of you who are watching, I would absolutely say, get the book. Everything that Mary offers is so relatable and practical and doable, and you will be benefiting from it tremendously. So all you have to do is click on the link below our interview here, and it'll take you straight to her free gift. And I'm gonna get it too, because whatever Mary puts out, I love to read and I love to learn, because to me, there's no better teacher in the world. She's world class. So please do that for yourself. Give yourself that gift. And Mary, if somebody would like to find more, read more about you, learn more about you, would they go to marymorrissey.com, or is there another? Okay.
Yeah, that's the best. marymorrissey.com.
Okay. And that's MORRISSEY.com. And I really urge you to go to her site and learn more about her. She has the tools to help you create a life that you will love. And Mary, I am so grateful to you for being with us here today. I'm so honored to have had you. And I would like to just ask one last thing. Is there a love bite or a little love gem that you can share with us that would be something practical that somebody could go out and put into their life and do today?
Absolutely. Before I do that, I just want to say to you, the viewer, somehow you found Sherry Nichols. That if you have a chance to attend one of her seminars, her workshops, or work with Sherry Nichols, you will mark your life by what happens because you have worked with her. And I just encourage you to do that. All right, a love bite, a kind of last-minute thing. You know, we're making decisions all the time. We make so many decisions, we're not even aware of all the decisions we're making. But if you start interrupting a little bit, you know, should I wear this? Should I wear that? Ask the question, what would I love? What would I love today? And bring that question as a leading edge of how you navigate and orchestrate your life. You're going to look back and be glad you're really glad that you did.
That's beautiful, Mary. Thank you. As always, it's such an honor to be with you. I love you. Your brilliance, your wisdom is so powerful. And I have so much appreciation and gratitude for you, really teaching us how to connect with the most important love of all, the divine love.
I hope that you have gleaned some amazing insights that you can go ahead and put into your life immediately today. Miracles are so possible, not just for Mary, but for you as well. Whatever you desire, whatever circumstance you're in right now, it can all be turned around to help you connect to that light within, to that diamond power within, to that divine love. I've put together a meditation especially for you. In just 15 minutes, you'll be able to connect to the truth of who you are, to the power that is breathing you, to your own diamond power. All you have to do is go to diamondpowertv.com and you will have immediate access to your diamond power meditation. Thank you so much for being with us today. And until next time, believe in the miracle in you.